Hey, we're going into part two of 9/11 Operation Yellow Ribbon, Gander, Newfoundland. And welcome back. And ting and ting and ting. I'm Mr. Giant, and we're going to keep going here and see how this unfolds. Of course, we know how it unfolds. Well, I don't know how it unfolds in Gander, Newfoundland. And I'll be honest with you, this is actually the first time I've actually paid attention to this. I don't think I heard anything about that where I live here. So, this is quite interesting. I'm gonna have to point this out to some people, because they think we just did it alone when you had help from around the world, you know what I mean? Let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what go on here.
On September 11th, 8 domestic flights are scheduled to land in Gander. Instead, 38 planes carrying almost 7,000 people are beginning to fill the tarmac.
Wow.
The spectacle has drawn a crowd from among the town's 10,000 citizens. Oz Fudge is one of just 2 officers on the local police force.
I watched the plane come in, then I seen a jumbo come in, and then I seen another one come in, and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, holy God, if there's 200 people on each one of these planes, and we're going to get 40 or 50 planes, that's an awful lot of people.
Less than 2 hours after American Flight 11 strikes the North Tower of the World Trade Center, the skies over the United States are empty. For the first time, American airspace is completely closed. In Canada, the Gander Area Control Center...
I didn't think about that, you know what I mean? I didn't think about them thinking of the possibility that there's more planes like that. That would put, even Canada in jeopardy, sort of, there, especially diverting them to Canada. And they took them like that. I wonder if there was vetting of people once they hit the ground, to make sure that there wasn't any... what they call them, incels on the plane and thing, to make sure they wouldn't have any problems in Canada. I wonder if there was any vetting of the people. Comment down below.
Somehow lands all 167 planes without incident.
It was a sigh of relief. You wipe your brow, so you thank God they all got in safely, and it was unbelievable to go from this horrific activity, and then the airspace is completely sterilized. Nobody there. No targets on the radar screen.
Here in New York, the sad task of the search for the survivors and the victims goes on and on. In New York, citizen volunteers are flooding toward Ground Zero as emergency workers search for survivors. 1,000 miles from the destruction, the 10,000 residents of the peaceful Canadian town of Gander, with virtually no time to prepare, must also respond with countless acts of generosity, providing food and shelter for thousands of frightened passengers, strangers who have suddenly arrived at their door. Among the stranded, far from home, are the parents of a New York City fireman. Not knowing if their son is at Ground Zero, Hannah and Dennis O'Rourke fear they may never see him again.
Thousands of transatlantic flights underline the strategic importance of Newfoundland's airports.
Gander was an airport before it was a town. In the late 1930s, British and American military officials chose this site on the eastern edge of the continent to build the largest airport in the world. During World War II, this was a takeoff place for American military aircraft headed for the European theater. After the war, Gander continued to play a vital role as a refueling stop for transatlantic commercial airliners. But then, the jumbo jets came along. They could cross the Atlantic non-stop, and Gander's role in aviation was greatly reduced until September 11th, when Gander came alive again, a safe harbor for the jumbo jets that had almost put it out of business. And within a matter of hours, this vast tarmac was filled with planes from around the world, parked wingtip to wingtip.
Wow.
Canada is basically becoming a gigantic runway for every plane and aircraft that was destined for the United States today.
In Gander, no one is allowed off the planes until customs and security are in place. Run by airport officials and officers from the regional headquarters of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Mounties.
But can you imagine sitting in that plane and not really knowing fully what's going on for one? I guess they did know about what happened in New York, but the point is, sitting in there with all these passengers, not knowing who could possibly be someone that's out to harm you. And me being claustrophobic, I'd probably go crazy in there. I mean, good Lord Almighty, man, it's just crazy.
They must process each passenger, plane by plane, until authorities are certain there are no terrorists on board. Among the trapped passengers is New York State Police Officer George Vitale, who is returning from Ireland, where he was doing advanced security for New York Governor George Pataki.
We were on this plane for 19 hours sat on the tarmac, not really knowing what was going on outside, but knowing that it was pretty horrific.
The number of casualties will be more than any of us can bear ultimately. And I don't think we want to speculate on the number of casualties. The effort now has to be to save as many people as possible.
Oh, it's Giuliani? Wow. Yeah, let's take out the age of him, but he don't look nothing like that. No, he looks so composed then compared to what I've seen the last few years. That's crazy.
There is another New York couple on the Gander tarmac whose connection to the events back home couldn't be more personal.
I just wanted to get off the plane and see what was happening, because I was hoping my son wasn't working that day.
Dennis and Hannah O'Rourke have been visiting relatives in Ireland. When they learn what has happened, they fear for their 44-year-old son, Kevin O'Rourke, a firefighter from Rescue 2 in Brooklyn.
Yes, it goes back many years to when I was a kid. The apartment building I lived in, over the years I was in, it ended up having 3 different fires, so I was carried out as a child by a firefighter. So I have fond memories, I have memories to go back to, all of a sudden, in the smoke, this big guy comes up, grabs me, and carries me down the stairs.
When he was going for his fire test, and he said, "Mom, you pray for me." I said, "Yeah, Kevin, yeah." He said, "Pray for me to pass." I said, "Yeah, Kevin." So he missed it by, 1 or 2 points, and he came home that night and he looked at me. He says, "You didn't pray for me. I did pass." I says, "No, Kevin, I prayed for you. You failed." So he says, "Mom, that's all I want. That's my calling, is to be a fireman."
While the desperate rescue operation continues in New York, Gander begins the process of absorbing all those passengers. So many that in a matter of hours they will nearly double the local population.
Now, Gander is a town of barely 10,000 people. There was over 6,000 of us. Now, if you extrapolate the numbers, New York City is 8 million people, so what's that? 6 million people showing up on your door saying, "Okay, we're here, do something."
The painstaking process of registering and removing each passenger continues through the night.
Finally, we're free, we're free. We're on the ground after more than 24 hours. We have no idea where we're going, but we're going.
It is not until noon on Wednesday, September 12th, when the last passengers are finally allowed into the Gander terminal. They are exhausted and confused, most not knowing where in the world they have landed.
We're debussing into Gander, which is just a few minutes away. We're not sure when the FAA is going to open up the United States to travel again. The Department of Transportation in Canada has all air traffic in Canada shut down right now. When you see the footage of what has happened, you'll appreciate why things have been done the way they are.
The only vehicles available to transport the great volume of passengers from the airport are school buses, and the local bus drivers happened to be on strike.
We were told at the time we got a crisis on our hands, and the strike never came into effect whatsoever. All the bus drivers came back, everyone. And we all came back and we did our job. They laid down their picket signs, they went and took their buses and they drove it, and for the next 4 or 5 days just helped out wherever they could. And that's what we're made of. That's the type of thing we're, even though those bus drivers had a dispute with their employer, they had no dispute with the people that landed here.
We'll do the best we can look after this. If there's anything you need, anything at all, I mean anything, just ask, and you will be taken care of, bottom line, okay? Make it as comfortable as possible. As passengers arrive in town, the locals rush to meet them with home-cooked meals. Among them is lifelong Gander resident Beulah Cooper, an organizer at the Canadian Legion Hall.
7 o'clock that night, I got a phone call from the Legion and asked me to do a tray of sandwiches. They have them down there by 8 o'clock. I didn't know what was going on. I brought down a tray of sandwiches and I found out about the planes. Your heart went out to each and every one of them. Because the first thing you do is put yourself in their shoes and know how you would feel.
Man, I'm loving this.
There are thousands of people in Gander and surrounding area that need your help. Please come to their assistance, lend a hand, lend a meal, offer your services wherever possible.
Passengers are not allowed to remove their check bags from the plane, so the clothes on their backs and in their carry-ons may be all they'll have for days. Ganderites respond, donating clothing and opening their shops free of charge.
Show your boxes to the camera.
Hundreds of passengers are also without their prescriptions until owners of the 2 local pharmacies working day and night and across language barriers can fill them all again at no cost.
They were able to go into the stores and just take items off the shelves. I'm not even sure they had to pay for them. The people were so accommodating in Gander.
This is our cook.
Even with all the kitchens firing around town, the local citizens cannot possibly feed 7,000 people. Red Cross and Salvation Army send additional food and supplies, fueled by donations from throughout Newfoundland.
I can't thank everybody enough. It's been brilliant. Everyone seems to have pulled together, you know. It's amazing where all the stuff has come from.
The community center is also acts as an ice rink, and we've stored all food on the ice surface, and we became known as the largest walk-in refrigerator in the country.
Another problem. Gander has only 500 hotel beds for almost 7,000 unexpected guests. Local schools, churches, and Legion halls must be converted into makeshift dormitories filled with sleeping bags, blankets, and cots. It is only as the passengers are settled around Gander that they see for the first time images of the devastation back home.
There's the plane, you can't miss that.
Now this here, man, this is a story that should have been told more about that thing, about that incident. This is a story that should be an example for so many other people coming to each other's aid and stuff like that. You know what I mean? People that have very little. There's good in everybody, man. You know what I mean? If you notice, of late it hasn't been as prominent, but how people come together to help and think about others whenever there's a natural disaster, be it man-made or nature-wise, If we could just always tap into that good in people, and we don't choose how to help people depending on nationality, race, color, creed, whatever. Just help a human, you know what I mean? That'd be so cool. Hey, that's naive thinking, right?
Some 30 hours after all of this had happened, we finally saw the pictures on television, and we just stood there, not saying a word and just watching those pictures over and over and over.
I think a lot were in shock. You could see that look in their faces of total lost. We don't know what's happening. They're in a place called Gander. Their country has been attacked. They're talking thousands of people that may have perished. What's happening? What is happening here?
I apologize to the families of people that are lost right now. We have lots of families seeking information about who was in the World Trade Center. Did they get out? Didn't they get out? Are we able to recover them? Aren't we able to recover them? And we don't know the answers.
Again, I ask, where did that Giuliani go? I mean, you know, look at him there, so calm, so collective, you know what I mean? Showing caring and stuff. What happened to that Giuliani? Where'd he go?
To all those questions yet.
Hannah and Dennis O'Rourke are staying at the Canadian Legion Hall in Gander. By now, they've learned that their son Kevin had been one of the early responders at the World Trade Center and that he is among the missing.
I seen on the TV what happened to the Twin Towers. And I didn't want to alarm them, but I knew that when they collapsed, I figured nobody would get out of that thing. But we prayed. I came here and prayed, hoped that he went so high.
It is reality, you know, as far as in the city of New York, that you are gonna lose, you know, lose some of your fellow brothers, you know, battling the Red Devil. Just luck of the draw, I guess.
He says, some are called for nurses, doctors, priests. My calling is to help people. And that's my calling to be a fireman, helping other people and saving people's lives.
This is an effort involving people that came in on half a day's notice. Some very anxious people, some very worried people, but yet some very thankful people for the hospitality that only the people of Gander and surrounding area can show.
These strangers just taking us into their home. And it was not just taking us into their home. It was, here's the bathroom, here's fresh towels, here's the refrigerator, there's plenty of food. And then what they said is, now you know where the house is. The door is open.
I gotta tell you, this experience with your town has just been beyond belief. We were buying some clothes earlier for the extra day stay, and the shopping clerk actually invited us to her house to take a shower. So it's been like that ever since we've been here.
And the people are real nice, you know. I can't believe it, you know. Everybody put their arms around you, you know, and it's always food coming in all the time.
There's not one person that we've come across who hasn't offered to help us in some way. It's overwhelming.
They didn't think of themselves at all at any time. They'd be in that kitchen and working all day and working at night. It didn't faze them, so they were there for you.
Other than her daily walk to church, Hannah O'Rourke refuses to leave the Legion Hall. Beulah Cooper, the Legion Hall organizer, can't help but notice her pain.
My son's a fireman, but I know this is not New York. And your heart really went out to them. And I tried to get them to come up here and stay, but they wouldn't leave the Legion because they were afraid they'd miss a phone call.
She was fantastic to us, and so was everybody else, but Beulah was special. She was like a mother. That motherly love, she hold you, you know. She was great.
I talked to her, tried to take her mind off things, but I know I didn't do that because you can't take a mother's mind off her child.
No.
Beulah Cooper tends to the O'Rourke's day and night. She walks Hannah to church to pray for Kevin and for his fellow firefighters.
The community, the love that they have, you could feel it every place around, you know. They keep telling you, keep faith, he'll be fine, you'll find him, he'll find his way out. I says, if anybody can, Kevin will, you know. So, it was in God's hands.
Okay, we're going to end part 3 here, you know, come back for part 2, come back for part 3 and thing, you know what I mean? I'm going to leave a link in the description so you could click on it and watch the complete thing, you know, without me stopping it and going into part 1, 2, and 3. But it always touches me when I see humans helping humans. You know what I'm saying? Just because they're humans, you know what I mean? Like when I'm at work and I do a good deed, the first thing somebody says to me is, "Good to see that you, to see a good Christian man helping." And it's like, I'm just helping because I'm human. I'm not. I don't go to church. I'm not exactly Christian. You know what I'm saying? So I just help people because they're people. If they need help, they need help. All right. Thank you all for watching this with me. Like I said, make sure to come back for part 3. And hey, if this ain't showing you, man, we gotta take care of each other. All right. Cool runnings.